Good evening, ladies and gents. I realized something the other day that I felt like I had to correct, which is that I have never done a video on the 8-string guitar, and I'm an 8-string guitar player. So here's a quick little demo of how I set up my 8-string and how 8-string works for me. So this is my 8-string guitar. It has two extra strings. All right, this is a ESP LTD FM 418. There's an FM 408, which is basically the same guitar, except it has some bindings on the outside. I really like this guitar. It's all black. Black as the night, black as my soul. It's a great instrument, has a great feel on the neck board, and I kind of bought it as an impulse because I was really inspired by, not by gent. A lot of people play gent with 8-string. But I was really inspired by some of Isan's music, who's a black metal musician. And I played black metal on this for a couple years when I lived in Las Vegas. It's quite a cool instrument. I actually do not set this up the way most people set it up, and I'll talk about how I set this particular guitar up, which is a fairly unique setup, besides being 8 strings, which is also unique. I do not tune the guitar with 2 extra low strings. I tune it with a high string, an extra high string, and an extra low string. So it's tuned more like a lute, and actually you could actually read lute tablature on the instrument very, very easily. You don't have to do any transposition, and the music will sound out right, although it'll be at a slightly different pitch level. So what I do is, if you want to imagine, I put an extra high string on it that would be A, and an extra low string that would be B. So it'd be like a 7-string guitar plus a high string, rather than how most people do it for gent, which is 2 extra low strings, a B, and then either a low F sharp or sometimes a low E. If you listen to bands like Animals as Leaders, they have a low E and they don't even have a bass guitar player. The low E covers the entire range of the bass guitar and makes the bass guitar kind of redundant in that situation. But I like it with the high A. I think it gives you a lot more extra options and more range for lead and more tones available, rather than just like the low chuggy tone. Okay, so that's the first thing I do. The other thing is I tune it a whole step down, and I use like a 10-gauge 7-string set for the lowest 7 strings. Normally I play on 9s when I'm tuned up to regular pitch. I like the feeling of really light strings. I don't like to work so hard, especially with an electric instrument. You don't have to get big heavy strings. And the high, what is actually G, because everything's tuned a step down 2 frets worth, is a 7-gauge string that you would usually use on a 12-string guitar to double the high G. So that's at the correct pitch. It's a pretty small string, kind of brittle when you get up high there. But it's really cool that you could play as low as a cello, actually lower, because here's the A, here's the C, that's the lowest string on a cello. You can play lower than a cello, and you can play like as high as a violin. It gives you a ton of range, and a lot of just different voicings that you can play. So you can play an A minor and really play through this. I'm not going to speak at concert pitch or actual pitch. I'm just going to speak at the presumed pitch. You can do an A minor, you get that extra high string, and you can get some great drones. Okay, so great sound like that on that big surfboard neck. The other thing that you can do with it is really play a lot of different scale extensions. Play up to that high C there. Or play the A minor Aeolian, and then you can add an extra string to all the sweeps. So you can get a lot of really cool different arpeggios going on, and I'll put on some distortion and let you hear some of those licks in just a minute. Now, what really makes this guitar interesting, besides the crazy tuning, is I have it wired up in a totally different manner from what you would normally have on even an 8-string. First of all, these are not the pickups that come with this guitar. Usually they come stock with EMGs. And I don't really like EMGs or active pickups in general. I really prefer high output passive pickups. There's a lot of reasons for that. They're noisier, but they just have a lot more life to them, a lot more resonance, and I like them for numerous reasons. They feel more, I feel more connected, more real with them, and they don't even out the dynamics quite as much when you're playing. You can get a lot of different dynamic range. The other thing you'll notice is that there are two pickup switches, and there is one volume knob. There's actually no tone knob on this guitar. There's a volume knob, which I use. It's a 500 value pot. So the first little bit is kind of a tone roll off, and then you get volume. You can use a 1 mega ohm pot if you want to use like half tone and then half volume. The first roll off, if you use a 1 mega ohm pot, will be mostly high end, like a tone pot. So volume pot. And I don't really use tone pots. I've never liked them. I've never really been able to use them very well on the fly, and I prefer just a lot of different pickup arrangements. So with this one, I did a really, really interesting wiring job. I actually did this myself. And what it is the pickups are wired to two different pickup switches and then to an output. So everything's actually in parallel, which is a little weird sounding, but it really works well for the music that I played on this. If you notice, those are both forward. What each of these does is basically there's a front coil and a back coil wired into each of them. So if you go both forward, you're actually going to have these two coils, which is the same as a standard front pickup, which you usually use for lead, right? You go both back, and now you're on both of these. Okay? And I actually find it really easy to just do both. I reach down with both fingers and do that. I get really good at that. Okay? And then there's a bunch of combinations in between there. You go one forward, one back. You have the back pickup here, okay, and the front pickup here. So standard sort of split to get that nice nasally tone. Okay? And that sounds really good with distortion, cleans things up a lot. You do those, it'll be the two inner ones. Again, they're wound against each other, but you get a nice kind of a nice little strat tone there. You can do combinations. So this is going to be, let's see here, both here and then one here. Right, and you can do all four. And you can do any combination of that you want. You could do two on the front, one in the back, for a little more sort of smooth tone and less of the nasal sound, or any combination thereof, and it sounds really good with distortion. So let me give you a quick little demo of what some of that stuff sounds like with distortion. Okay. Switch channels here. All right, so here's our standard bridge pickup rhythm guitar sound. Okay, so you get a really good kind of low, chunky sound with that. These are, by the way, DiMarzio Deactivator 8s. These are these pickups. If you're playing a lot of grind, kind of stuff, you really want to clean it up, you can do a pickup split like that. And you can get a lot of clarity. To get a lot of different voice clarity there, and you can also do the same thing here. Okay, And then for the front pickup sound, you can get... All right, you can do a lot of extra sweeps with that kind of stuff. You can get a little more nasal sound with that. Okay, so there's sort of a lot of the sounds that I do with this. It's a really uniquely set up guitar. I just kind of wanted to do a video to show it off because I don't really do a whole lot with this. And most people do not have an 8-string guitar set up the way I have it set up, so there's not a whole lot of instructional videos to do on it. But if you like that, that's cool. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I appreciate all the feedback, and have a good day.